What if I told you that feeling full, it has a way less to do with your stomach than you think, and a whole lot more to do with your mind? We tend to think hunger is pretty simple, right? Your stomach rumbles, you eat, you feel full. But we're about to dive into some amazing research that shows our appetite is being pulled by these invisible strings we almost never think about. So yeah, this is the big question for today. What if that feeling of satisfaction you get from a meal is less about the actual calories you ate and more about what you thought you were eating? Let's kick things off with a really classic study.
All right, our first stop is this brilliant experiment that basically puts our own beliefs into a cage match with our biology. It is the classic case of mind over, well, in this case, milkshake.
So, picture this. Researchers bring a bunch of people into a lab and give them one of two milkshakes. The first one is presented as this super rich, decadent, high-calorie dream called indulgence. The other one? It's sold as the Sensi Shake, a sensible, low-fat, totally guilt-free option.
But here is the massive twist. The milkshakes were exactly the same. I mean, identical, down to the last calorie, the last gram of fat, the last bit of sugar. The only thing that was different was the label on the bottle. The real question was, would the body react differently based on belief alone?
To figure this out, they measured a really important hormone called ghrelin. The easiest way to think about ghrelin is like your body's own internal hunger gauge. When you're hungry, ghrelin levels go up. When you've had a satisfying meal, they're supposed to drop way down, telling your brain, okay, we're good, you can stop eating now. And the results? Whoa, they are just stunning. Take a look. The people who drank the indulgence shake, the one they believed was this rich treat, their ghrelin levels plummeted. Their bodies physically got the message that they were full and satisfied. But the folks who drank the Sensi Shake, their ghrelin levels barely moved. It's like their bodies thought they hadn't eaten much at all. This is huge. Their belief, and only their belief, was enough to completely change their body's physical hormonal response to the exact same food.
Now, this milkshake thing, it's not some weird one-off fluke. It's actually a window into a much bigger phenomenon that scientists call the expectation effect. You've probably heard of it as the placebo effect. The idea is that our beliefs can literally shape our reality, right down to our own biochemistry.
For instance, check out this trial from the NIH. Researchers gave everybody the exact same placebo, basically a sugar pill, but they told one group the pill would make them feel full. They told another group it would make them feel more hungry. And guess what happened? People felt exactly what they were told they would feel. The power of suggestion alone was enough to change their physical sensation of hunger.
And this really brings us to a quote from neuroscientist Dr. Leonie Cobon, who puts it perfectly. Our expectations are actively shaping our most basic physical experiences. Our mind isn't just watching the show, it's directing it. But believe it or not, the mind is only half the story. Okay, so let's shift gears. We're moving from the psychology of belief to the deep primal wiring of our brain's reward system. And what we're about to see suggests that some of our cravings are driven by something so incredibly powerful it can actually compete with one of the most addictive drugs we know of.
And that leads us to this kind of mind-blowing question. If you gave a brain the choice, what would it find more rewarding? An addictive drug like cocaine, or just pure, intense sweetness? The answer is not what you'd expect.
So, in this landmark study, scientists gave lab rats a choice. They could push one lever and get a dose of intravenous cocaine, or they could push another lever and get a sip of water sweetened with saccharin. That's an intense, calorie-free sweetener. And get this, they even offered this choice to rats that were already addicted to cocaine.
The result? Well, it pretty much comes down to this one single number.
94%, an absolutely overwhelming majority of the rats, even the ones who are already hooked on cocaine, consistently chose the sweet taste instead. And what's even crazier is that they kept choosing the sweetness even when the scientists upped the dose of cocaine. The pull was just stronger. So what on earth is going on here? Scientists have a term for this. It's called a supernormal reward. See, our brains evolved in a world where intense sweetness was super rare and a fantastic sign of energy. But our modern world bombards those ancient brain circuits with a signal that is so powerful it can literally hijack our self-control systems.
This diagram helps explain the how. Look, cocaine is like a chemical master key. It just directly unlocks the reward center of the brain. it's a shortcut. But intense sweetness uses the brain's natural, evolved pathways for taste. The signal it sends is just so overwhelming, so far beyond anything our biology ever expected to encounter, that the rewarding feeling can actually be even stronger than the drugs.
Okay, so let's piece this together. We've got two incredibly powerful forces at work. There's the beliefs in our mind shaping our hormones, and then there's this deep, primal reward system getting totally overwhelmed by modern flavors. So what's the connection between them?
Well, the common thread, the link between all of this, is one single powerful little molecule: dopamine.
Now, you've probably heard dopamine called the feel-good neurotransmitter, but it's really more of the do-it-again neurotransmitter. It's all about motivation and reward. That feeling of deep satisfaction from the indulgence milkshake, that was the reward system getting a hit of dopamine. That irresistible pull towards sweetness over a drug, that's the reward system being absolutely flooded with it. At their core, our cravings are just our brain chasing that next dopamine rush.
So this is all fascinating stuff, but why is it so important? Because understanding this completely changes the way we think about food, cravings, and our own health.
So, let's just boil it all down. What are the big takeaways here? First, your mindset is powerful. As we saw with the milkshakes, what you believe about your food can physically change how your body processes it. Second, our brains aren't broken. They're just running on ancient software in a very modern world. Our biology just wasn't built for the intense flavors all around us. And this means that cravings aren't some kind of moral failure. They're a complex dance between our psychology and our deep-seated biology. And that leads to the most important point. Knowing about these drivers is way more effective than just trying to fight them with willpower alone.
And that really leaves us with one last big question to chew on. In a world that is so perfectly designed to hijack these systems in our brains, is just trying harder really the answer? Or does the real solution lie in getting smarter about how we manage our minds, our brains, and the world we live in? That's something we're thinking about.